Hello, Morris Jensen. Welcome to Pasos Del Camino, a project on the Camino Santiago, to the Camino Santiago. And it's the most amazing pleasure for me to have you here talking to me. For those who don't know Morris, Morris is an artist, um, and he paints mostly about the Camino. His artwork is just amazing. It's out of the ordinary. It's something uh beautiful. Let me tell you before we start, it's really amazing. uh it's maybe one of the best art on the Camino that I ever seen. So it's really is a pleasure for me to have you here talking with me about something that we like both. So Morris, how your relationship with the Camino has started?
Well, it is a interesting story, if I say so myself. I was actually working in the Middle East because a lot of my artwork began in the Middle East. I used to go out to the deserts of United Arab Emirates. I painted in um, Saudi Arabia and Oman, and so it was all to do with camping and painting, being outdoors, camping and painting. And then I just finished a teaching commission, a teaching project in Oman, and I decided to go back to France where I lived. But instead of going straight to France, I thought, well, I'll go to Portugal, only because the local airport did direct flights to Lisbon. So I just thought, well, why not? Take a. And I was on the plane going over, and I was looking through the plane magazine, like that. And so I got to thinking about this, and I had intention. My first intention, my original intentions, was to finish this teaching contract, and go over to America and do the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
I was all planned up and I linked up for that. But I thought, well, that's going to be 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever, where I could do this. I could do this walk, the Camino, Portuguese Camino, in just sort of 6 weeks, whatever. So when I landed in Portugal, Lisbon, I already had accommodation sorted out. And I just asked around and I talked about the Camino. And for a lot of people in Portugal, it's not just the Camino. There's also the Camino Fatima,
Yeah.
which takes them to the town of. I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of the place, but it's where it's a very it's another Camino where people go to people walk to. So if you're leaving if you're leaving Lisbon,
Lisbon.
yeah, you follow. There are two. There is the same trail is for
Fatima and then to Santiago.
and Santiago, and they're just done in different colours. Fatima is in blue, and Santiago is in yellow. So anyway, so I set off, and I already had a little bit of camping gear with me because I always am a hiker, and so everything. I have a backpack. I don't have a suitcase. I have a backpack, and I always have a little bit of gear with me. And I just had to buy a gas stove, and some other things. And I set off, but I had very few hiking clothes with me. And I set off with a shirt and tie and a jacket. And I think they may be. I left them in certain areas. I'm sure there's still ties. Some of my best ties are still wrapped around lampposts at the beginning of the Camino Trail. I don't know.
That's amazing. Maurice, we are getting back to the Portuguese Camino, but before, one hard question. Even for me, it's difficult to answer this, but um, if for some reason we can go back in time and you can relive your best moment on the Camino, which
Mhm.
moment you choose?
Of course, anybody will tell you that there are a dozen great moments
Yeah,
on any Camino. But for me, the best moment was when I'd got a little lost, not
yeah,
so lost. I mean, I didn't know where I was, but I didn't know where I wasn't. And I just know I had to keep following, going north, and keep the sea to my left. And I decided to come off the beach because it's very difficult to walk on sand if you're carrying quite a backpack. And I had a small tablet with me that I was able to use Google Maps. And I noticed that there was a trail going through a wood. So I got onto this trail going through the wood. And I was like 2 days walking through that wood. And of course, I ran out of water. I even actually passed some loggers and asked them for water, and they just made out they didn't understand, whatever. Anyway, I continued for about another 3 or 4 hours, and I came out into a village, into a town, and was picked up. I started. I was somebody saw me at the side of the road, stopped, asked if they could help. I said, "Yeah, I need to find Camino." In fact, I said I needed to find the fire brigade because in Portugal, the fire brigade there's a very strong connection between the fire brigade and
and the Camino.
Camino.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I don't know if you know the
I
history,
know, I
but
know, I know. Don't worry, I know.
right, well you can, yeah. And so this guy took me, but he actually took me to a surfing auberge, and they welcomed me. There was only a couple of the guests there, young people that were really into surfing because Portugal, the coast,
Yeah,
the waves. And I just said, look, I need to stay about 2, 3 days. Is that okay? They said, yeah, no problem. So I went from walking alone in the woods without any water to staying with these guys that were amazed that this very old person I was like 55, was walking the Camino. And they wanted, the weekend, they had a barbecue and there was a jacuzzi. So within 45 hours, I went from being actually parched with thirst and rationing my water, you know, to sat in a jacuzzi drinking
and then
beer.
to a jacuzzi. That's really amazing. Uh,
Memorable with a very attractive young ladies, young, old enough to be my grandchildren, but still very attractive young ladies.
That's
That was
amazing.
one of them. But anybody will tell you there's so
Yeah,
many wonderful moments
even
you can do
even
the Camino.
I walked the Camino five. I walk no. I have done it the Camino five times, 3 times the Portuguese from Braga, from my hometown, um, the Primitivo, and then the Winter Camino, the Camino de Invierno, and I don't know. There are so many, but I can tell you one of them. I am volunteer. I am pilgrim. I am volunteer at Alberg on the
Right.
in after Barcelos on the Portuguese Camino, and okay, there are some days that are better than other ones, but mostly on the Portuguese Camino, on the Central Way, where I am volunteering. Mostly the months that are more crowded are May
Yeah.
and September, and I'm volunteer there, but sometimes mainly mostly on weekends, three to times a month. But sometimes when the person that works there every day go to on a vacation, I can go and stay there for 2 or 3 days more. And in one of that days,
Hmm.
early May, the place where I'm volunteer has 42 bunk beds. Uh,
Oh,
and
42.
in that day, for you to understand, in that day, I put it inside of the albergue 58 pilgrims.
Ah, that's a
It,
lot.
it was really crowded. It's
Yeah.
uh, in that day I was so busy you cannot imagine. And for me to being volunteer is special, but it's special when you can give a piece of you to each program that are there. So in a day when you can have like 15, 20 programs, it's more easy for you to connect with them than with a day that you have 58. And this was in May 2019. 3 months later, I decided to walk the Camino, and I went to on the Primitivo Camino. And on the last stage, uh, already when the Primitivo joins on the French way, on the last stage, arriving in Santiago, like I don't know, 10 kilometers more or less before arriving on the cathedral, near the airport, uh, there are a lot of pilgrims walking by, and I was walking at the time. I was walking with two amazing persons from Spain, and we are walking downhill, and in the on weather and on the other way there's a pilgrim that's going on the reverse, um, and he passes by me. He looks me really serious, and suddenly he gives me a hug. He hugs me, and okay, what is happening? I don't know what is happening. What is happening? Okay, are you okay? Are you fine? Um, okay, actually, that pilgrim, he known me because he was on that day in May with me, being a volunteer in that day
All right.
at the albergue.
Well,
So he know me from there, and he saw
he
me
knew you
walking.
from before.
Yeah, it was.
That's always nice. We meet so many people we know. It's very strange when you do a Camino that you pass people and stop and meet other people and meet people who know people. It's uh, it's quite nice.
So, Maurice, for you as an artist, as a painter, what were the most amazing places that you walked by, walking the Camino?
Well, by that I mean that I actually stopped and sketched.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, well, you've caught me because my Spanish is not so good, but of course, Jean, when you
Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port.
start, thank you.
Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port.
Yeah, that's an amazing place to walk around and sketch. And I spent 2 or 3 days there before I actually set off walking. Then the next possible, the Alto de Pardon,
Alto del Perdón, sí.
right, with the I sketch. I spent another couple of days. Now I must confess, 'cause quite often I camp. I do take a tent with me and I stop and I camp, and so that in the morning I can get up and paint and catch the light, and then I move on. I probably use my tent about 50% of the time that I'm doing
The Camino.
a Camino, just so I can be where I want to sketch. And there were so many other places along the way where I just stopped and said, I'm going to stay here until I want to
Maybe
move
Cruz de
on.
Ferro, no?
And, and,
Foncebadón?
and paint and sketch.
Maybe in Foncebadón?
Well, I stayed 3 days there.
E ao Sobreiro?
The Pont de Rennes, the Pont de Rennes.
Foncebadón, firstly. Then
Yeah,
on the Cruz de Ferro, on the Iron Cross.
the Cruz de Ferro show, I stayed 3 days. And then actually, because I only live where I live, I live in a place where I can, have breakfast in the morning and have lunch on the Camino if I drive.
Yeah.
So a couple of times I took my car down and drove along the Camino the best I could. And I would just stay in places and paint. I was not on
Yeah.
a Camino,
Yeah.
but my car was full of toilet paper, chocolate and water to give to pilgrims.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And so, and yeah, there, and then of course, Finisterre, Murcia. There's just a everywhere along the Camino. Quite often the places that you really love to paint are just so small.
Yeah,
They're just tiny little villages and you're just little views. But then when I paint these places and put them on my website or on my Facebook site, people they just say, yeah, I remember that place, and they put their photographs, and they're next to the building that I painted, or they're next to the view that I painted. That's quite nice.
that's amazing. That's amazing. What is your inspiration to paint about the Camino?
I don't know. I mean, I've painted all over the world.
Yeah.
I actually took a second profession of teaching English as a foreign language,
Yeah.
so that I could travel around the world and paint. But the Camino's magic. It is lovely. It's wonderful. You don't have.
Yeah.
It's a very rare community of people that come together. It's in fact, it's not just the Camino. You can do that on any big, well-known walking route, come the Appalachian Trail in America, or the coast to coast in England, or any other walk. Some of the hikes in Japan where they hike the temple routes. It's the same thing. The people are very bonded just by the fact that they are walking. And it doesn't matter how much you talk about it, and you can talk the talk, but you've got to walk the walk. You've got to go there and walk. And then you're part of a very special community.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, like we said, while walking the Camino, it's
Again,
like
please.
every time that we walk the Camino, each day it's a new day with full of new moments, new stories, new experiences. Can you
Yeah.
share parts or some stories that that were special for you while walking the Camino, please? One, two. What can you remember?
There's so many. There's a wonderful place on the French Camino. It's a lady that set up a little post where she offers water, food, basic cooking. I didn't know you was going to ask this, otherwise I'd found. There's a lot of totem poles. Artists like to stop there and often do things for her. The Oasis, the Camino Oasis, I think it's called. That's a magical place.
That's amazing.
On the Portuguese Camino, I stayed with a family. Again, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the names, but we spent the night singing Beatles songs.
Yeah.
You know it. You've been there, and the times that you go into you're just walking around the town looking for a restaurant, and you see one that it just clicks. And you go in, and they immediately, the waiter takes you to the back of where there's about another 15 pilgrims eating together and drinking together, and you all eat and drink your fill, and then share the bill. It's wonderful. And another time I've done the Camino with my son as well, which is very special. If anybody does it with a family member, it's very special. And we ended up I cannot remember the name of the village. It was on the Camino Francais. And we just said, where do we go and eat? And somebody gave us directions. And we went to a little restaurant with about 6 tables, sorry. And the guy said, they just immediately come with the food, with the drinks, with the tapas. And, they don't come to take your order as such. They just come to, I don't know, it's just special. They just come to say, right, you're going to eat? What do you recommend? Maybe there's two choices. And, if you say, what do you recommend? They say, well, everything is good. My father's.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You can't argue with that, can you? And you get out the habit of asking how much, because it's never very expensive. And you spend a wonderful time eating, and often the table, on the table next to it. It's very similar to an English pub. People
Yeah,
just start talking to each other.
for me, one of my
Yeah.
most amazing moments was last year. Fortunately, I was able to walk the Camino last year, and I did the Winter Camino. The Winter Camino, it's an official Camino, but it's an alternative to the French Camino that starts on Ponferrada and then goes through south of Galicia to Santiago. It's more like 260 kilometers, more or less, and it's just an amazing Camino with beautiful sightseeings. It's hard to walk, but I choose it because it's a not well-known Camino.
Which is that Camino?
The Winter Camino, it's called Camino de Invierno, Winter Camino. You can look it up. It's really amazing, beautiful sightseeing. And for me, I choose it because it's not well so known. It's not really known as it matters. I don't know. Making some comparison. In 2019, there were 80,000 pilgrims walking the Portuguese Camino. This Camino, in 2019, there were less than 1,000 pilgrims walking.
Yeah.
So but it was really a good choice. It was really amazing. And in 10 days of walking, 10 days walking the Camino, we were 3 pilgrims, me and a couple from Madrid. And we had dinner sometimes. We sometimes stayed at the same places, sometimes don't. And in one of the stages, we were in different places, staying for the night. And but we actually, without knowing, we met on the laundry. There was a self 24-hour laundry, and we met, and I talked to them, and I said, so it was more or less on the middle of the Camino, and I said to them, today I'm just so anxious for meeting a really good meal, a beef or a really good big
Yeah.
steak, a big
Yeah,
steak.
you get tired of boiled eggs, sardines, and bread and cheese. Yeah, you
So-
want to eat something.
So they had the same feeling. So we went. We picked up a good restaurant, and we had to eat like a big steak, 40 euro steak. And I know sharing that steak was so amazing. It was so beautiful, and more in the middle of this virus.
Right, yeah.
So it was amazing. It's not a special, it's not a magical, but for me to be able to have dinner with pilgrims were special in this time. Well, walking the Camino in 2020, it was really special for me.
I can imagine.
So Maurice, you may not know, but in my opinion, the Camino it changed my life. So I owe everything to the Camino and to the Santiago. That's why I'm volunteer. That's why I'm doing this project. That's why sometimes I drive my car around the Camino to offer, like you, to offer some water, some food to the pilgrims.
Yeah.
It's my way. It just
There's a lot of people don't realize that there's huge support community, like people
Yeah.
like you that offer the support on the Camino. It's there. There are a lot of people behind the scenes doing a lot of good work with volunteering to work in the auberges and like I prefer just to go out with my car and stop somewhere, like a Camino. On the Appalachian Trail, they call them trail angels. I won't go that far to describe myself as a Camino angel, more as a bit of a Camino devil. But you're there for people. You're there to offer water, offer support.
And there was just it's just my way to trying to pay back something was the Camino and Saint James. I'm devoted. I'm Christian.
Yeah.
I'm devoted to Saint James too. What they every day, every year, every time I walk the Camino, what they give to me, what the Camino had given me all this time, from 5 years ago when I started to now,
Mm.
it's my way to trying to pay back something and to help in some way. So this is why the Camino is really special for me. And for you, why the Camino is special for you?
Well, again, like you, it's something that you didn't expect to find, and then you stumble upon it, and it totally changes your lifestyle, whatever you are doing. For me as an artist, I was busy painting one kind of style of art, and suddenly I found the Camino style of painting, and that just changed things completely. You find a niche, you
Yeah,
find a little place where you are happy and comfortable, and you start. For me as an artist, I started producing Camino art, mainly in watercolor at the beginning, because watercolor lends itself to hiking, and I've done a lot of um, posts and little YouTube videos to tell people to, rather just keep a journal. Keeping a journal is great, but if you keep a journal and sketch, it's not difficult. Just do some very simple sketches. That really does enhance your memories of the Camino.
that's amazing. So let's go back to your first Camino, to the Portuguese Camino. Why you decided doing the Camino from Lisbon? Do you know the Camino? Okay, in the from 4 years, 3 years from now, the Camino there are more pilgrims doing the Camino from Lisbon, but the usual place to start the Portuguese Camino it's Porto. Um, what was your first impression of walking the Portuguese Camino?
Well, originally, as I said, I didn't, I read the pamphlet on the plane going over, so decided to change my just simple holiday in Lisbon to walking the Camino. And I didn't do any planning whatsoever. It was only when I started staying in the fire stations that I learned more about what was available.
Yeah,
But it's true. The Camino takes off really from Porto north. I mean, I would not tell anybody not to start from Lisbon, but if people are uh, finding the time that they have to do a Portuguese Camino is a bit limited, then for sure start at Porto. And if you have more time, start at Lisbon. You'll profit from both experiences. But it's a wonderful Camino, and it's the thing I liked most about it was the Roman influence. To
yeah,
walk
yeah,
on those old Roman roads, and to come across, you may have done that old water mill you come across.
yeah,
I have a painting. I have a painting of it on my website. When you just come across that mill, the big lake, the pond, and that mill, and that was built by the Romans. And you're walking on stones underneath your feet, and you come across
yeah,
markers, which Marcus Centurius,
yeah.
him and his mates built it, and they're there at the side of the road to tell you that. Amazing, amazing to
That's
touch
amazing.
history like that.
Do you know, I live in Braga, and you may not know this because, okay, the Camino passes here, but most of pilgrims don't know that. You from Portugal, you can take three different routes: the Central Way, the Coastal Way, and that is the Braga Way. It's an alternative that goes from Braga, and then joins a little bit more ahead the Central Way in a place called Ponte de Lima. Uh, in Braga, just for you to understand how important it is for Portugal and then for Braga, the city of Braga, where I live,
Hmm.
it's more than 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
In the before Portugal, it was one of the most important cities around the Iberian Peninsula. It was a Roman city. It was called Bracara Augusta, Um,
Mhm.
it was one of the most important towns in that time. And from here there was like this new Camino. If you have time and if you have the opportunity to do it, believe me, you can. You have this Camino. It's called Camino da Geira e dos Arrieiros. It is name. It's awkward, but it is name. Uh, and it's called Camino de la Geira Romana, Roman,
Yeah, the
because it
Roman
goes
Camino.
almost from the beginning in Braga to Santiago, almost for every Roman old Roman way that was old around the year, and it's a beautiful Camino, um, and you pass for in the middle of the only one national park in Portugal with the most amazing beautiful sightings that you could find here in Portugal,
Yeah,
and it's old Roman history all over it,
yeah,
all over it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, the Romans, they got about. I mean, Romana Britannia. It's the same in England. We are, we're the Romans. We are basically the Romans that stayed behind, and we just, interacted with the Anglo-Saxons afterwards. Now, tell me, I have a question for you.
yeah,
What
please.
is the what is the correct pronunciation of the corn buildings, the horus? Give me and
Okay.
give your listeners the correct, those wonderful
Órreos.
HOERR.
Órreos. Órreos.
Oh,
Órreos.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh,
It sounds awfully like it
but
sounds awfully
actually,
like a biscuit,
um,
which we can buy in England. That's
um, but in Portugal they have a different name. In Portugal they are called it's even harder for espigueiros. Espigueiros.
well, there you
It's
go.
different
Yeah,
word from but in Galician in
yeah.
Spanish is
But
órreos.
they do. Yeah, they are the sort of, for me, they're the most basic symbol of the Camino, rather than, I mean, we have the shell and the arrow and things like that.
Yeah,
But those,
let me just show this. This is one of the for me one of my favorite pictures while walking the Camino, and it's just really special for me. Let me share with you here. It is really special. That's me. That's me.
yeah, yeah,
To in 2018, walking the Portuguese Camino
right.
on the part in Galicia, and it's really special. This photo. It was taken
Yeah, they're
for.
wonderful things.
It was taken by a girl from Seattle, from America. It it's my head photo on Facebook. So, um,
Now, can you show one of my paintings
of course, of course. The,
of 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 the Horarius? Or maybe I'll try and do it for you.
um, actually, that was my next question. And do you know how many paintings of your Camino of yours
Yeah,
are on the Camino right now?
yeah. I've so far I've published about five. I've actually painted about 500 paintings.
Yeah.
I've painted about 500 paintings, watercolor 450, about 50 oil paintings. Now, the reason I don't have a large number of oil paintings is because oil paintings really have to be done when I'm back in my studio. And most of the oil paintings I've done recently are sort of recycled old paintings. I've started a new style of painting, which people can find on the website. Oh, well, there you go.
Where are they more or less? Do you know me to point?
No, no, they'll be in the Camino. You're right. You're on the right.
Okay,
Camino watercolors. Yeah, Camino
yeah,
watercolors.
show
Oh,
more.
yeah,
Okay,
go there
okay, show more.
and then show more.
Okay,
So there's There's conch. There's everything there.
This one here is just amazing. All of them just, I don't know, Lupui.
Yeah.
And this one,
Practice, practice, practice. If you want to learn to paint,
you have to practice.
you have to practice. Just paint, paint. Same as you want to be a good piano player. You've got to practice.
It's amazing.
Nobody ever got good at playing the piano by staring at the piano. Oh, there
Yeah.
you go. There you go. To the right.
This is
To
just
the right.
amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, which I call finding the way. And this is a wonder. I really enjoyed painting this because I got the Horio there, and then the guy's pointing. If you see the painting, the guy on the right is actually painting to a very small little sign arrow, because everybody has this problem. You arrive in a village and the first thing you do is try to find water and to top up your water. Then you suddenly realize you've got to find your way out of the village, and everybody walks around looking for the signs to go out, the Camino signs to go out of the village. And so
This is amazing. Here, look at this. Cruz de Ferro.
yeah, that was during a storm. I painted that about 4 o'clock in the morning when I was actually camping there, and this storm came, and I just whipped out my watercolors. And artists actually do that, It's because we probably drank too much wine the night before.
They are just amazing. Please, if you have the opportunity to see these, and please buy a painting of these guys, because they are just amazing. They are beautiful.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I've enjoyed it. It's not finished. It's not finished. I shall, once this COVID has finished, then I will go back and start painting again. I do portraits. I do enjoy doing portraits.
That's amazing.
A portrait is very similar to a landscape, but you're discovering somebody's face. Now, this is the Portuguese. Now, that's just go down to your right now.
Yeah. This one?
No, then up again.
Open it.
Just up one, Matt. Up a little more. Up. Right there. Stop there. No, go down again. Go down again. Can you just go down to the next layer?
Yeah.
There you go. Now that building there on the right is a Roman mill. And you can see the pavement. Look at that pavement. That was built by the Romans.
I know. I actually didn't know the place where I'm volunteer is just, I don't know, more or less 5 kilometers before this place.
Yeah.
It's called.
Now, of course, the mill itself has, changed and been rebuilt.
Yeah.
But when you come in, you walk in about 5 kilometers on this Roman pathway, and to the right is a quick sketch I did, a very quick sketch I did in the middle. And yeah, it's just beautiful. It's just amazing. You touch history, you become part of history. It's wonderful.
That place, this one here, it's called Ponte das Tábuas.
That place there?
Yeah,
the mill?
Ponte das Tábuas. It is.
I actually went for a little bit of a swim in that lake.
Actually, there are lots of films that actually do the same.
Yeah.
In that place.
Yeah.
These are just amazing. It's amazing.
And that's where we start off.
Here in Lisbon,
that's where we start off.
A very famous
the picture in the middle. That's at the cathedral. What is that called? The cathedral?
Yeah, I don't know. This is Lisbon, for sure.
And just the little road to the right, you can't see it in this photograph. That's where you just set off and go. And you can actually see there in the photograph, if you go back to that photograph, I'm actually, the bottom, my trousers and belt is actually part of my military uniform I had to wear for teaching in Oman, when I was a teacher in Oman. And I had no other clothes with me. And I had this terribly small tripod. Everything was very, very small. And
Yeah.
that's a military shirt I'm wearing. And I just, yeah, great memories. I think I lost that belt. It was a good belt. And
That-
this is when you're walking along the beach.
yeah.
They have these platforms that you must walk on because otherwise the sand is, the sand is very difficult to
It's
walk.
too awkward. Yeah. That's just
Yeah.
amazing. This is amazing. And the on
And
the
that's,
middle.
yeah, there's me painting vines, trying to impress people that walk by. Yeah, that's great.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I've not looked at these photographs for such a long time. Now, what is the name of where you see the Venice Canal? What is the
Okay,
name of that?
Aveiro. Aveiro.
Yeah,
This is it's one of my favorite places in Portugal.
yeah.
So let me see what it is.
The Venice, or the Venice of
It's the
Portugal.
Portuguese Venice. It's how it's
Portuguese Venice.
called, the Portuguese Venice. Actually, it's most of the tourism people, they call it the same way, the Portuguese Venice.
It's strange when you're doing the Camino, when you're walking any Camino, you can be walking in places that nobody ever knows. And then suddenly you come across a place which is famous.
This is the same bridge from before.
Yeah.
Ponte das Tábuas.
Yeah, well, that you'll see that bridge in several of my paintings in different forms. That's the style of bridge which I often paint. The kind of Roman arch, heavy brick. Now there is a bronze statue to this poet.
Yeah,
And
Fernando Pessoa. It is named Fernando Pessoa.
in the square.
This one here.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I sat next to him, sketching. That's a nice place. It's a nice place. That's in
Who see you?
Lisbon.
Who see you? The place.
Then we have
Yes.
the stalks.
They're just amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stuff with dogs.
Oh no, don't go there. Don't go there. Do not go there. No, let's stay with but the only thing you could look at if you go to travel art
Travel art, okay. Where?
and then come down to the United Arab Emirates.
Okay. Why?
That's where I started painting. That's where I began my painting career, in the United Arab Emirates.
But you know, okay, I'm not expert on art, but your style of painting, for me, it's unique. I don't see very often this style. You know.
Well, that's why it's called a style, because you
Yeah.
don't see it with anybody else. It's something that a person develops, but you don't develop it consciously. I didn't paint and think, well, this is going to be my style.
Yeah. You just.
I mean, the painting on the left. If you come down a little bit,
Okay, this one or this
yeah,
one? That's
up again a little bit, up again. No, not that
No,
one.
okay,
You
okay.
need to slow down and just return to the. No, you need to go back to the full picture.
Okay, the full.
You need to go right. Stop. Go down. Right. Yeah. Stop there. The one on the. That's it. That's a Canadian artist, Tony. Oh good Lord! I'm going to get his name wrong. It's so bad. Tony Osley. And this guy used to fly a plane into the Canadian wilderness and just paint, and then fly back again. Wonderful artist. I was very inspired by him. So I painted in Ras Al Khaimah in his style. I mean, that's what an artist does. You just build up your own style, and you don't copy other artists. You study other artists, and you do studies of other artists, both living and dead. And slowly, you build up your own style. You add a little bit. Of course, you cannot. You always add a little bit of yourself, but quite often, if you know, I can tell you most of the paintings I've done, not so much now, but a lot of my early paintings, I could tell you the artist that inspired me to paint in that style, and that's what it's all about. If you're learning to play the piano, you may start off learning. You might love Elton John and you play in the style of Elton John, and then you say, well, I'm going to practice a little bit of Mozart, and then I'm going to do a little bit of Richard Clayderman. And slowly you practice all these styles, but you're always adding a little bit of yourself. And then at the end of it, it's yourself, it's you that comes out. And then you have your style.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for explaining me and explaining us that. Um, so, Maurice, we are almost finishing here, but one last question. What can you tell to someone who will start walking the Camino for the first time?
Okay, I'm really pleased you asked me this question. I'm very, very pleased. Let's forget sketching and painting.
Yeah.
If you wish to walk a Camino, yes, you can go onto lots of different Facebook sites and get lots of information. There's only one way to learn or practice walking the Camino, and that's by walking. You pack your bag, your backpack, with the things you may need or think you may need, and you walk. You leave your home, and either you walk to a friend's house, which is 20 kilometers or 12 miles away, and you stay the night with them, or you do a big circuit and you come back into your own home. And when you arrive at your own home or at your friends, you say, no, we can cook a simple meal. Let's just do spaghetti bolognese or something, but I don't want anything special. And I will sleep in your bed on my sleeping bag. I will use the things in my backpack to shower and wash myself. And if you do that a few times, if you practice doing that over a few weeks, months, however much time you've got to prepare for a Camino, you will start to lighten your load. You will start to realize the things you don't need. Okay, if you don't need it, don't pack it because you're the one carrying it. It's all about weight. There isn't nothing you cannot buy on the Camino every 3 or 4 days. You can go to a supermarket and get yourself some new socks, a new pair of trainers, a new pair of, a completely new kind of wash kit. There's nothing that you cannot buy along the way. And there's nothing that you cannot do without. So practice. Before you leave home, everything in your backpack should be the things that you need. Nothing extra. Nothing. You don't need a 1 liter packet of shampoo if a bar of soap will do.
Yeah.
Every
That's
everybody
it. That's it.
everybody smells on the Camino. Well, in fact, nobody smells on the Camino because we all smell the same. Just think about it. Practice. If you take the time in a few weeks, get a friend to drive you 15 kilometers away from your home and walk back home. Get a friend to drive you 20 kilometers. I'm using kilometers. You're probably, whatever in miles. 20 miles from where you live in the rain and walk home.
And walk.
Carrying just the basic things that you need and walk, practice. And it's the same. If we now go back to painting, it's the same with painting. You've just got to practice. You've got to practice with limited shows. I'm using the French word. Limited things, les choses. I slip into French sometimes. Limited things, and just make do and get by, and enjoy the journey. That's. I mean, well. If you've got an orange and a yogurt in your backpack, you're set for the next meal. If you've got a tin of sardines and a piece of bread, you're gonna eat like a king.
So Maurice, we finish here, but one last word. Thank you so much
You're more than welcome
for doing this with me. It was so amazing, and thank you for sharing all of that with me. And I hope you enjoyed our talk today. Thank you so much.
Well, we will meet up, I assure you, because if you're based in Portugal,
Yes.
you know, I'm aching. I really want to redo the Portuguese Camino.
And then
Now, are you between Lisbon and Porto? Are you between Porto and
I am
Spain?
okay. You passed in Barcelos. You remember Barcelos?
No, I'm sorry,
Okay.
no.